Hello and welcome back to the Franchise Growth Pod. My name is Belle, Director of Marketing at AC Inc. And drum roll, please. Angela is here. Angela, welcome back to the pod.
Hi, I hope you give the drum roll to everybody. I mean, I do listen to them and I haven't heard. We should probably do that for every of the team members that comes on because everybody deserves a drum roll.
Well, that's very lovely. I have yet to do a drum roll before. That is my very first time, but maybe it will become a usual part of the intro. Maybe that'll be part of it.
I think I should actually do the drum roll for you because you're so awesome at this. Like, it was so fun when you took over and rebranded the podcast, and we were like, wait a minute, Belle's a superstar of this. How did we not know? So
Oh, that's
you
very
deserve the drum roll.
Oh, that's so kind. Yeah, we rebranded. I was thinking about it just over a year ago now, and I think we're actually due for kind of starting a new season at some point soon. So we'll have to talk about that and kind of maybe we'll update the cover art again or something fun. So everyone can look forward to that. And I love it so much getting to talk to the team. So thank you. That's very sweet. Angela, I know that we are mostly on audio for our podcast, but this is on YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube, Angela is wearing a very fun hat. And I want to just start off today's episode by asking you, I haven't seen this before, and we talk to each other all the time. So I feel like I've seen a lot of your hats and shirt combos.
I know, isn't it so funny? Okay, well, first of all, it's hilarious that I've become a hat person. So
Yeah, I was noticing that.
I know. It's like, it's one of those things, once you start, you get addicted because you realize, first of all, that you can have a bad hair day and still wear a hat. If it's raining and you're worried about your hair getting wrecked, you just wear a hat. And then it changes different looks, like different outfits. So I've become a hat person, which is so funny. But anyway, this is my third one. So this hat, I have a black one that's pretty wide brim. I have the exact same version that's red. And I was like, what am I going to do now that I'm a hat person in the spring and summer? And so I'm thinking I need one that's a little bit less. So the one that I'm wearing right now is a little bit less wide of a brim. It's a little more country, just a
I was
little.
thinking it's giving Calgary Stampede. I'm
Oh,
into
I
it.
know, right? It's like now I'm gonna have to come to Stampede because I have a hat. And it's like cream colored, so it's lighter. So I think I can wear this, spring, summer. And what happened is I was recently in Vancouver for a Fired Up Summit, actually Fired Up session, which I can tell you in a minute more about that. But I was waiting for my Uber, and it said it was 8 minutes away. And I looked over, and there was a store there where I was standing, and I was like, "Oh, that looks like a cool store. It's called Unity or something." And I walked in, and I'm like, "I'm just gonna look around." I see the hat right away. It's like a third of the price of my other two hats in Canadian dollars, even in Canadian dollars. I was like, it felt like a steal. I made the decision within like seconds, just there I go. And there, that's the hat. So thank you.
Amazing. I actually have to say, when it comes to like a purchase, usually when you just know within seconds, like it's usually it.
Yeah. I mean, I could have looked around and probably spent twice or three times as much and whatever. I got the hat now. So we're good.
And now you have, as you said, like kind of one for every season, and it goes with all three of your brand colors, which is so perfect.
Oh, I never even thought of that. There you go.
Um, and I actually was going to ask you, because I know you were in Vancouver. I was looking at your stories the other day. They were so fun, with the Fired Up session. So maybe you want to give a bit of a background on that, because we haven't even caught up since the last time, like since you went.
I know. Yeah. So it was similar to a Fire It Up Summit in that the whole idea was about firing up the franchisees of 30-minute Hit, which is an awesome brand. I love them a lot. They are based in Vancouver, but they've got franchisees all over North America. There are over 100 franchisees now. There's a lot of new people there. There's a lot of legacy people in the brand, which is always a good sign. Like, you don't want all legacy and no new, because that's a sign that the legacy maybe aren't happy and they're not saying good things. And then it's also, if they're all new, what happened to the legacy people? But there was a great range of people there. And I was using the concept of getting them fired up, telling my story when I was a franchisee, some of the things that I learned the hard way. And I really get them to put themselves in my shoes, or like, is that a good way to put it? Like that what happens is they see themselves in my story, because the thing is, my story isn't just my story. It's the story of franchisees and franchising in general. And so by the end, they're going, yes, I get it. And I'm trying to empower them to feel like I can, take action on some things that I've been resisting, afraid of, or not sure what to do. So by the end, they had a handout, to like double-sided. Can you believe it? I made it all by myself, by the way. Normally I would ask you to help me with that.
Impressive. Yeah, generally I get a text, Belle, we need a handout, but that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I'll show it to you. I think you would approve. I actually used one of your like older ones and just updated it.
Ooh,
So
I see. Sneaky.
yeah, I was just sneaky. But it all came together very last minute, so I had to just do it. Anyway, the handout had 4 different categories on it, from leadership, vision planning, leadership, marketing, and metrics. Four common areas that franchisees struggle, and they had to come up with an action step for each one from kind of my story. And it was really fun. At the end, I sat down and had lunch with them, and they were just like coming up and telling me like, thank you, like I needed to hear this. So it was really fun.
Well, it speaks so much to the power of storytelling. So, I was actually thinking about this the other day about like the people that you feel the most connected to, like on LinkedIn or even via just like conferences and stuff like that, are always the people you have the most like in-depth story sharing conversations where you get to. And I actually had someone once go, "I need to hear your story," and I was like, that was the most like connection focused like question honestly ever. And I think that we sometimes forget like just how powerful hearing someone else going through something that we can relate to, like it impacts us so much. And honestly, it's happening all the time, whether it's TV shows we watch or podcasts we listen to or whatever. Like we are constantly taking in different information, and part of what creates that special connection, and part of that like motivation, as you were talking about, like starting to see themselves and go, oh my gosh, I'm in a similar situation, or that's
Mm.
exactly how I've been feeling, even just the feelings that come up. So yeah, that's so cool to hear, and I'm so glad it went well. And I've heard just nothing but great things about that brand and all the work you've done with them. So yeah, that's really awesome, and a little bit different than kind of the typical session though. Hey, like really focused
Yeah.
on storytelling, more on the presentation part of it.
Yeah, what we were doing, and this was all strategically organized, is that helping them understand how we can then potentially help them, that they could sign up for some performance group programs and things. And so by the end, the franchisees were like, where do I sign up? I want to get it on this. So that was really cool. It was new for me. So I had to, definitely get out of my comfort zone and do something new. One of the things that I do that I'm really aware of when I do these things is I have to get the franchisees to understand that I really do understand what they've been through, even though in my case, being the founder's daughter and having already come in with all that background, that I still struggled with
Totally.
the common challenges that franchisees struggle with. So that I've, it's taken a little while to figure out, how do I get where I'm relatable, even though they might look at my story and think, well, you wouldn't understand. But I think I'm getting there. It was
Yeah,
fun.
that's amazing. That's so awesome. And if anyone is interested in learning more about the Fired Up summits or sessions, speaking at angelacote.com is where we do all of our intros into that. But Angela, that is so exciting. We have been introing for a while, so I was like, oh,
Let's get into the podcast.
get into the topic. I didn't even say what we were going to talk about today, so that was my bad. We are getting into a very exciting topic today. I wanted to have Angela on. We've talked about this in several different formats before. We've had posts on this. I think there's Mansion Raw Rants maybe, but I wanted to ask you a few questions specifically for Franchise Growth Pod listeners about building credibility as a field coach. And we're going to dive into kind of a couple different parts of that question, but it really was inspired by you and I have been having a lot of conversations behind the scenes about some really common like struggles when people are really implementing field coaching, and they're going, we understand the value of proactive support. We want our franchisees to do the best they possibly can, be the best business owners they can be, have a really healthy life cycle, achieve their goals. Like so many leaders that we speak to want that so badly and are so excited. And then starts to, come these challenges or these worries or these fears of what that actually looks like in practice. And sometimes that happens when they bring us on and we kind of walk them through the process, where sometimes people have started and they're halfway through and they're going, oh my gosh, we need some help. Like we did not anticipate some of these things coming up. And one of those really big concerns or challenges is being credible to franchisees. And as a field coach, coming from sometimes not, the exact same experience that a franchisee has gone through, that can be really tough. So maybe you want to start, let's start with just getting your insights because you are often having a lot of these conversations. Where does that challenge come from? Or where does that credible trust
Mhm.
building piece, like where is that concern coming from? And where do we often see it show up?
Yeah, great question. And yeah, this is coming up a lot. We're hearing this a lot these days, as we talk more and more at our roundtables about, how to find the right person for the field, and when we work with our clients, of course, to do that. Well, first of all, for me, I had to deal with this. So, I you've heard this a gazillion times. I don't know if that's a true number, but it's just a lot, right? um,
Bajillion.
Bajillion, there you go. That, how do I, when I was a 20-year-old, cute female boss's daughter, show up and try to get these older male franchisees to listen to me? I like to think I was cute.
Did you wear hats back then? Do you
No, no, I wore different kinds of hats. I had like fun hats actually that I would wear in the stores, but that's another story for another day. I had like I had a Scooby-Doo hat. Like, of course, that was a great way to build credibility.
You're saying you're 20 something, you're a
Yeah.
blonde lady coming into these legacy franchisees locations with a Scooby-Doo hat on, being like, I
Okay.
can help you run your business
Yeah.
better.
Okay. That just added a whole new element. No, to be very clear, that this was once I won them over and I showed them that I could help them and we could have some fun. I was like, we don't have to be all serious. Like like this was like at least a week into me being there for the 2 weeks. I was like, pull up my
Totally
freezer
get it.
hat.
I did not imagine that would be your intro
Yeah.
hat.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Walking up with a Scooby-Doo like beanie 2 cat or whatever. Anyway, but yeah, so I struggled with this, fortunately I had, and this is the thing, like I had the product and the operations of the business credibility, but never being a business owner. So I felt it. And then we've been hearing this a lot on our field coach roundtables. And it's like, it's one thing to be able to help a franchisee that wants help and
Yeah,
needs
it's
it.
super bought in, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a difference there, especially if they're new, but it definitely, we see it more with, a more established franchisee, legacy franchisee, or a top performer, where the field coaches are like, they don't think they need me. They don't want to get on a call with me. Um, and, or the franchisee will actually say to them, what can you possibly teach me about this business? You don't own one of these. You don't know. So that is where it's coming from.
Yeah, I think that is such a real feeling. And honestly, I think it speaks to a lot of people's just approach to coaching. We had an interesting conversation the other day. My partner and I were talking about kind of the difference between mentorship and coaching, and how a lot of people really feel like
Mhm.
to teach me anything new, you have to have done exactly what I've done. And that's kind of this other, that's more like a mentor. That's more someone you're looking at. I really admire certain things you've done, and I'm wondering how you accomplish those things. That's not the same as gaining insights from someone who maybe has a different perspective, different skill set, different experience. And then also, coaching is really much more about establishing, the systems and the goal setting and the assessment of your business, and getting an outside voice, right, to bounce idea, all these other things that don't actually have anything to do with, I want to do exactly what you've done, and more
Mhm.
about getting that coaching, that business insight, the systems, the assessment, the goals, all of those types of pieces are so different than exactly what you're talking about, which is, I think, kind of that more old school or more traditional kind of form of getting value, right, from somebody else. So I loved your personal experience in there too, because I think it really speaks to, again, like, not only are we hearing this a lot, but you're like, no, I dealt with this exactly myself. Like, this is very relatable. Um, as you talk in these field coach roundtables, so the roundtables that we run weekly with field coaches from different brands. So we're getting a bunch of different insights from different coaches. Obviously, they're all called different roles, but they all work directly with the franchisees on their performance and support. When you're talking to them, and then from your own experience as well, we've kind of talked about where that concern comes from, but how do we start to begin to work on that? Like, where do you even start as a coach if a franchisee is coming to you with those issues, like, or coming to you and going, what on earth can you teach me? What on earth can you help me with? Like, how do
Mhm.
you start to build a relationship that's going to succeed long term?
Yeah, well, I would say the thing that worked really well for me, and that we've coached either people that we work directly with or in our field coach roundtables you mentioned, to do is start by admitting that I'm not going to pretend that I know what you know, even if they don't address, like, get out ahead of that. If they don't, even if the franchisee doesn't say that, I would start with that, like, hey, like, I know I'm going to acknowledge right now, you've been a franchisee for 5 or 10 years. I'm new to this role. And you're probably thinking, you might be thinking, I don't even have this person doesn't have a franchise. They've never owned a business. I'm going to admit that right now, or acknowledge that is a better way to put it. I'm going to acknowledge that right now. And I'm like, I'm here to help you with your goals. And I mean, start to give them a picture of what that looks like if they're open. But the most important thing, I think, initially is not pretending that you are. And we, as franchisees, I saw that when people came into my store, because you can imagine what they were thinking. They're like, I'm going into, this is the founder's daughter. And like, I had coached and trained some of these people to take over my role when I switched from being in the field to being a franchisee. So they're coming in and they're like, what am I going to do? And what often they would do is they would revert to like a compliance and authoritative approach. It was so annoying. We're like, really, like, they were often younger, and they come in and it's like, that is so not the way to do this. The opposite is what you need to do. You need to come in and say, I'm actually feeling a little bit uncertain about what I'm going to be able to help you with. Maybe we can figure that out together. Tell me what you need. What are the gaps that you're, maybe what are the things that the home office isn't, maybe you're not connecting with the home office enough on. Like, for us, that would have been things like, tell us more about what other franchisees are doing during these tough economic times, or how are other franchisees finding staff right now when it's really tough at whatever time that would have been.
That's such an interesting point. And I think that it's worth mentioning that a brand new field coach coming into, again, the founder's daughter's store, you were a multi-unit franchisee, you've been working with franchisees forever. That's a very specific situation. So, going in and saying right away, I actually have no idea what I'll be able to help you with, might not work for every single franchisee. But I think what you're saying, and I so agree, and I love this point so much, is the vulnerability aspect, right? So not going in with, as you said, that opposite of I'm going to be super authoritative and come in and tell you what to do. It's like, that doesn't build credibility, especially when someone's been franchising, like been a franchisee and a successful franchisee, as you said, a top performer, especially for so long. That's not going to help build that trust, that credible relationship where they turn to you with questions or insights or perspective or tools, all those kinds of things. That's not how you're going to get to that successful point. And so instead, having kind of almost that opposite approach, as you said, and actually coming in with I'm going to learn a ton from you because you've been a franchisee for so long, doing so well. I'm going to learn so much. And I might be able to help you with some of these smaller pieces or some of these systems, or optimizing, how much time you have to spend in the business, or helping you figure out kind of your life cycle. Like, when do you want to, get out of this business? Do you want to expand? Like, all these other things that might work for that top performer. So key to not come in and be like, I'm going to tell you what to do, and not try to create that like personal one-on-one connection.
Yeah, just one thing I want to add. I think you just hit on this too, but I want to emphasize, because I didn't say it before, but yeah, also, here's my skills. Here's the things I'm good at.
Yeah.
So, right. Like, I'm here. I have a background in being a coach, or I've done these other things, and that's the kind of thing I'm going to be able to work with you on. So when I'm going to learn from you, but it's not like I'm going to use you because I don't know anything and you're going to train me. It's
I
like,
love that.
I'm going to work with you to learn what your needs are. And if I don't have the answer, I can also go get it.
Totally. Yeah, I actually really like that too. And then generally that's also why, and we do actually have an episode where an episode of the Franchise Growth Pod where you and I talk about kind of some of the traits and skills and experiences to look for in a field coach. That's the DNA of a field coach, if you want to go back and listen to that episode. But in that episode, we kind of talk about that, right? So making sure that someone has some form of skills or experience in an area, that they can bring that to one of the franchisees that maybe is struggling to see the value, and be able to go, okay, maybe I haven't owned this exact business, but I have a lot of experience in business, or I have a ton of experience in sales or relationship building or marketing, or all these things that you can then bring to your franchisees as you learn and build up the other types of skills that are more specific to their concept. So I think that is so key, is kind of finding someone who has some sort of a background in that to be able to bring to franchisees.
One quick other thing to add here that we can just drop in real quick. If I'm sure people know this, but if they don't, make sure that you have put that field coach through your corporate or your franchisee training, and then make them like live a day in the life of, not just for one day though, like a week in the life, or even, 2 weeks in the life of a franchisee, so that they can speak to some things that they picked up when they did that and like have done the dirty work.
Yeah, that's actually a great one. And that actually speaks to the next thing that I want to talk about. So we've kind of talked about, okay, how you initially go in, especially as a new coach, or new to working with certain franchisees. And if you're starting to, experience some pushback or experiencing distrust of how much you can actually bring to them and their business, I think that's a really, really solid starting point. But I want to speak to some other things. I have a couple things you and I have talked about in the past here. One of them was definitely, and I loved when you said this, was the work ethic, like being able to really prove that you as a coach, you're not just going to give them a spreadsheet to set some goals, help them figure it out, and then be like, hey, good luck. You're really in it with them and believe in them, believe in the business. And I think actually that tip that you just said about working, in as a franchisee, really having a day or a week, 2 weeks in the life, is really going to help show franchisees that you are not just there to hand, over some spreadsheets. There is work ethic involved that you're willing to put in.
Yeah. So I would say that was the number one thing that worked for me. And is that I was, so, I was willing to, meet the franchisee, whatever time they needed to meet, however long they needed to meet when I was there. Now I was in two different roles. I initially was on the training side. And in those days I'd work, okay, we're going to meet at 8 a.m. to work on getting the store ready. And we might be there till 10 p.m. at night. And I didn't go, okay, like your freezer temperature isn't cold enough, so someone needs to stay. Goodbye. I'm going back to my hotel room. It was like, let's just sit here. I remember sitting there, like, we were so tired. I'd be sitting with this, again, older male franchisee on the floor, like half asleep, going, did you check the freezer temperature yet? Like, and the showing that I was going to be there with them to do that. Like, I remember these moments. That was really what helped a lot. And not just working long hours, but like doing the hard work, digging in. And when I said before about going through the franchisee training and all that, oh, this was a huge one. When the field coach was willing to get in my store and work alongside me during the day, like go serve customers. Like we had one of our field coaches would never do that. And it was so annoying because I'm like, we're really busy right now and you should have this skill set. And right now the customer's coming first. I know you flew here to be with us, to spend time with us. But if we go and serve these customers, then we can go back. Like, obviously, if their staff were good enough without us, fine. But there was like an influx. Well, and then that person could be role modeling to us what we're supposed to be doing in terms of customer service. So that's another thing, is like, or go mop the floor, or whatever, go take the car. If it's a mobile service business, go take it and fill it with gas for them. Like, just be willing to go above and beyond.
Yeah, I think that speaks so much to the trust building and relationship building. And again, especially when a franchisee might be struggling to see the value, to see that kind of work ethic and that kind of commitment is so huge.
But there is a caveat. I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is important. You do also have to set boundaries and set expectations. That was one thing, though, that if you're not careful, the next thing you know, they're handing you the key and giving you the code and telling you that, like, you can close the store down. It's like, whoa, no, this is a partnership. Like, we're working together. So it did require setting that expectation, but it was like, that actually, I think and it was a good leadership thing. Like, hi, I'm here to work hard alongside you working hard. And as long as you're working hard, I'll work hard.
Yeah, it's so funny, Angela, because literally what I was just eyeing about a second ago was I was going to go, and then we have to talk about expectations.
Oh,
so
I thought you're going to move on. I was like, wait, we have to cover this. It just,
because that I think, and that's actually, it's funny because oftentimes when I think people talk about like building really, really productive relationships, so often the very, very first tip is the setting expectations. So I never I never love to start off with that as kind of the number one tip, but it's the number one tip generally because it's one of the most important. So setting those boundaries, setting those expectations, as much as we've heard it 1,000 times as far as creating any kind of productive relationship, that is definitely something that needs to be on the list and can be done, I think, definitely in those early stages. And I actually think what's funny is the two things we've talked about so far, which is the work ethic and the
Vulnerability.
vulnerable. Yeah. And really being clear about kind of what you can offer them, and not trying to be that authoritative presence. Both of those are part of expectation setting. Like both of those are part
Yeah.
of getting it clear, like what kind of relationship this is, and what kind of incredible success we can create together when we both are putting in this type of vulnerability, and work ethic. So I think that's really interesting that that kind of all ties together into that setting expectations, but also the boundaries. So key.
Yeah, I just we can't move on until we clarify that. So if I was a mind reader, I would have known you're going to say that, but I was like, wow, we can't move on.
That's so, so funny. And we don't have a list of notes, actually, guys, we're working off of. So it's not like we just both hit the same point of notes. We're both thinking that exact same thing. That's definitely number one next on the list. So we're getting close to the end here. We already have so many incredible key takeaways. I think just for as a part of the credibility building, the trust building, the setting the expectations and standards for a really, really successful field coach and franchisee relationship. But Angela, is there anything else you think that could be done by a coach, or could be kind of used as a resource for coaches, for a brand, on how to really nurture that credibility, how to really keep that going? We've kind of set those expectations, put boundaries in place, showed work ethic, been vulnerable, all those things. What are maybe one or two other things just to finish us up here?
Yeah, well, if it's okay, I'll give a couple that, I don't know whether this fits in the nurturing or the kind of earlier stage, but they're still going to be valuable for people that are
Yeah.
struggling with this. So one thing that we've done when we've worked with a brand, one of our earlier clients where we were doing this work, is when you've got a top performer or a legacy franchisee, is go in and find out if they have a vision. Do they have a clear vision already? And if they don't, help them see that, like, let's figure out what your vision is, if they're willing, again, trying to see if they're willing, but then let's reverse engineer that and see if you're like, are you missing on, maybe if you're not setting goals, maybe you could be even doing better than this. Maybe you could be working even less. And I can maybe show you some things that other franchisees are doing. Like, that's where you can bring in a lot of credibility. Also early on, if they're resisting, is to find a small win. Sometimes even just looking at their profit and loss statements, because you get access to all the other franchisees' profit and loss statements, something might just be jumping out at you going, oh my gosh, like, the other franchisees are spending way less on uniforms than you are. Let's dig into that. Why? Maybe they're letting the employees take them home, and other franchisees have a different system that saves money.
Yeah. That's so
There's a good example there. So those are some things. And then as you go, just being open to learning and being like a lifelong learner, using your coaching skills, but being a lifelong learner. And I guess in terms of the nurturing, definitely continuous professional development will help you with, I think, that nurturing of how do you continue to be valuable for a franchisee, because you don't want it to max out and like them be like, okay, I got everything out of you that I need. That happens a lot in business coaching situations. If the coach doesn't help them see that the other types of things that they can help them with, they're like, okay, we're done that coaching time together and we're done. So it's like helping, especially if you're a true coach, it doesn't matter if the person has an issue or not. They know they're going to show up on that call with you, and you're going to pull out of them something that is standing in their way, or that they need to tweak or, course correction on. So that a true coach is, obviously we want to get people as independent as possible, but if even if it's like a once a month coaching call or a group call every 2 weeks or once a month, the true coach will be valuable no matter what, even if you feel like you're smooth sailing.
Yeah, that's so, so true. And I think the professional development and continuing to work on your skills as a coach is definitely one of those key pieces to the nurturing that relationship and continuing to be valuable. I think that's so key. Wow, there was so many great nuggets in that, Angela. I'm so stoked.
I hope so. I hope we
Oh my
help
gosh,
some people.
awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, sorry, I was gonna say, we see this at the field coach roundtables. The coaches that come to our field coach roundtables are people that really, really care about franchisees, and they are people that are lifelong learners. They want to grow and learn from their peers and get better. And so, we see that's where I think between that and the people we work with directly is where we learn, I guess, and the roundtables, but like the other roundtables is where we really learn what are these challenges? And this one, I know this one is a doozy for people. So I'm really excited to have been able to give some insights on it.
That's amazing. Well, I'm so excited for everyone to listen. And if you are listening, I just want to say thank you. We have been
Yeah.
doing this podcast for, as I said, a little over a year, and we've grown so much. Our listenership has been so incredible, so supportive, sharing episodes, liking our posts on LinkedIn, just, hitting subscribe, liking, rating, subscribing, all those things. It just means so much to us. And it's so incredible that we can continue to offer value on this really, really key topic of franchise success. So thank you, Angela, for coming on the podcast today, and
Yeah.
everyone listening.
But yeah, thanks to our community for sure, because we get such great feedback from our community about this podcast and what they're getting out of it. And thanks to you, Belle. This is a big thanking session now.
Just share the
Getting
love.
all lovely.
We love sharing love. So if anyone is listening and is not a part of the AC community as of yet, please do go check out angelacote.com/roundtables. We have professional development roundtables for several different roles, as well as our established franchisor roundtable and our emerging brands roundtable. So options for everyone to come and join the community. We have weekly sessions that are peer driven, really, really focused on problem solving, adding value into your week, getting insights, bouncing ideas off of people going through the same things. So if you have not come and tried one out yet, please do. And Angela, go be awesome. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week.
Go be awesome.